everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hi, my friends. It's Sally Clarkson at Home with Sally, and I am so very happy for you to be with me today. I am going through the 24 family ways, and it's interesting because it just happens that because of so many of you responding on my Instagram about what you wanted me to write about, many of you said education, and it's so crazy that I haven't written about education in many years because obviously, I educated my children, and they're all flourishing, and they're all learning to work hard. And so as I've been pondering what kind of a book I would write, and as I've been actually working in the outline, I realized that today's family way is one of the reasons why I think that all parents need to understand that they are teachers. Regardless of what kind of schooling you choose for your children, public, private, homeschooling, all parents are teachers. And so let me jump into the 24 Family Ways. And for some of you who are just joining me, the 24 Family Ways was a devotional guidebook that Clay, my husband, put together as kind of a compendium of the 24 basic foundational truths that we wanted our children to know were the way that God wanted us to relate to Him and to others, into our world in Christ. And we went over it about 3 times in the lifetime of our children when they were very young, when all of them were kind of in a middle 9, 10, 11 age. And then actually I did it with Joy, and I think the other kids, as they were older, during their kind of late junior high, senior high school years. And you can do it differently, and you don't have to just use the questions for conversation that we talked about, but it's so good to have that sense in your mind and in your heart on the pathways. This is the right way to live. This is the right way to relate. This is the right way to work. And as I look back, I feel like this area seemed very hard for me. And so the whole concept that we are talking about today is cooperation. And the 24 Family Way number, actually it's number 15, it says, we work with a cooperative spirit, freely giving and receiving help. And the memory verse is 2 are better than 1, because they have good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up. And as some of you know from listening to my podcast with my 2 girls last week, we are definitely in a period of cooperation. Joy and I are helping Sarah and Thomas with Lillian by taking her away from their house, going on long walks. I babysit her. I have fun with her so that we can be that sense of community for her in the midst of a little bit of an isolated place in her life, and so that she can finish her degree. And I have been helping Joy on some areas, and she has been helping me. And I really feel like the whole point of family being a unit, a kind of a club, so to speak, a company of people that we can depend on, has to start with a spirit of cooperation. And yet, most of us oftentimes look at our children, at least I did, and think, are they ever going to get along? Are they ever going to share? Are they ever going to be able to help one another without quibbling? And the answer is yes. I waited myself, but as I have said in the past, as we're going through these whole 24 ways. It's a training that takes time, and it takes instruction, and it takes practice, and it takes correction. But the reason why I'm so encouraged in writing this book on education is that I believe that many parents think education is primarily about facts, ideas, and books read. But when I looked at the education of my own children, I conceived what it would take for their whole life experience to be informed by true things. Not just that they would have a knowledge of the world, of educational ideas, or to know what math was, or grammar, or science, basic science, but I wanted them to have a biblical worldview. I wanted them to know that every day of their lives they were called to serve God. I wanted them to know things that were sacred in life. I wanted them to learn the character qualities like today's lesson of cooperation. And so that's why every parent is an educator. We are the ones who shape the perception in our children's minds of what is true, honorable, just, good, right, and pure. And that requires intentionality, and it requires faithfulness. And so I want to share a little bit of a story with you about my own life from just a few years ago. I believe it was the occasion of my 60th birthday. And that was 6 decades. It was quite an occasion. I don't think I've had such a birthday celebration since. But a few years ago, I had gathered with close friends and, of course, our kids and Clay. And according to our tradition, after we had eaten a great meal, and I believe it was out on our deck because my birthday is in August, and it was amongst the pine trees that we have in our house. And we were sitting with candlelight, and it was evening. The sun was just beginning to go down. I think it was around 7 o'clock in the evening, and we have a little bitty tiny view of the mountains through our pine trees. And it was just such a pleasant time. And I kind of wondered to myself, okay, what is everybody going to say this year? But all of my kids felt compelled and did say wonderful things to me that year, that day. But Nathan said, Mama, as I look back on my life, I am so beginning to realize just how much time you invested in our lives, from daily devotions to teaching us manners, to helping us learn to do chores, to educating us, to correct us, to provide lessons and leadership opportunities, and counseling us on every possible subject. And I just want to thank you for investing so much time and giving yourself up to make my life strong. Because everywhere I go, I hear your personal voice telling me what to do and how to live. And I was so surprised when he said that, because you wait years and years to hear these words. You only hope that everything you're doing is going in. But I think the thoughts were ripened in their minds as they all reached adulthood and were going out into their own lives and watching what other people were doing, how they were making choices, how they were serving other people. And as I pondered all the words that all of my children and friends gave me that night, I was reminded again that investing in a child's life, their mind, their soul, their heart, their habits, their education takes lots and lots and lots of time and training. As Sarah said on I thought it was so cute when Sarah said it, because she's heard me say it a million times before, but she said, nothing that is great is accomplished without great effort. Actually, those were my words. I know that every single day of love, taking them into nature, pointing out beauty, teaching them truth, showing them the fingerprints of God, reading a favorite story, is truly going inside, and it is forming their very hearts and souls. But the daily training of it, no, not this, but this, no, not this, but this, 1,000 times over, is what it really takes to shape a strong soul. Self-actualization, as I've talked about many times, because I think it's something that many children leave home without. They have a lot of moral principles taught to them, a lot of advice, a lot of exposure to Christian ideals. But I think that one thing that many families lack is giving their children a sense of self. You were designed by God to be a light in the world. You were created by God to tell people about His truth and His light and His love. You were given your personality because you have strengths that you can use to share with others that will help them. And so I think self-actualization is the term that has come up in our own lives lately. All of my children really grew up believing that they could bring light to their dark world. I was actually just talking with Joel about this last night because it was a part of the moment-by-moment daily wisdom of our family, the truths that we valued in front of each other, to say that God created us for Himself. God created us for a purpose. God created this day for a purpose. God wants you to learn in this moment the lesson that you need to learn so that you can be strong inside. We would say things like, I believe God has a special work for you to do in the world. You are my right-hand helper, and you have learned to work so responsibly. Thank you for helping me clean up the house. I love seeing your heart of compassion. You brought all of your friends over from drama club, and I think it really meant a lot to them. But I was so grateful that you helped me clean up all the dishes that they used. I know that you're going to be a leader of women because you are such a servant. Maybe you will write great work someday like Lewis or Tolkien did. You have such a grasp of truth and beauty and a great way of expressing it. I know it took a lot of work to write this essay. Great job. There's no limit to what God might do with a heart that is completely His. He would love to bless your ideas and dreams. If your heart is His, your diligence will pave the way. And Nathan and I were talking this week about how much you have to invest and reach out and take initiative and foray into the world, because that's the way that actors get parts, and that's the way that He has created His movies, by learning to work a lot. And so as we talk about way number 15 this week, it's about giving your child a sense of being a servant leader as a part of their self-image. Part of perceiving ourselves as leaders is understanding that God has created us to serve, that leadership is a walking along beside people, helping them, that it is a glory of a person to serve and to give and to love well. And another part of the aspect of building a servant heart in a strong family is that sense of community. We are all for one and one for all. We will love each other unconditionally until we see Jesus. I know that your brother irritated you. I know that Daddy might have said no on this occasion. I know that you wish that I would have whatever it is. But we are a family, and at the end of the day, we all need to love and help each other. So I appreciate it that you're willing to trust me with this right now. And so I think that one of the things that I wish I had known more about, or maybe talked more about, is the vast importance of humility. All of us, every single person I'm talking to now, me, my children, my husband, my friends, all of us are self-centered and self-absorbed. We come out that way. That's one of the qualities of our lives that sin teaches us to do so well. We want the biggest piece of cake. We want to be admired the most. We want people to recognize what we've given. We are self-centered. But Jesus said, I am humble and meek. Learn from me. And so one of the attributes of becoming someone who cooperates is learning humility. And I would encourage you to find whatever definition of humility you can find online in a dictionary. And really talk to your children about what it means to be humble, because to be humble it means to bow yourself down before someone else, to consider one another as more important than yourself. The actual definition that I prefer right now is having or showing a modest estimation of your own importance. In other words, not thinking more of yourself than you are. It's also to consider that everyone around you is of great worth because God said they had great worth. To humble yourself means to not place yourself above people, but to look in the context of their lives and to be able to say, I need to understand this person. I need to forgive this person. I need to love this person because they are someone who has been created in God's image. They are someone who's been created for His redemption, and that gives them great worth. And so as we talk to our children about this whole idea of humility, we have to talk with them about what it looks like to be able to serve other people. I'm going to take one tiny little pause. We're living in a world in which we tend to compare ourselves to people. In my world of social media, it's so easy for bloggers and writers and leaders to compare how many people they have, or how many followers on Facebook, or how many Instagram followers they have. And yet Jesus says if you want to be great in His kingdom, we have to learn to be the servant of all. And that's where humility comes from. We look at the life of Christ, and He is the one who forgave prostitutes, who touched lepers, who invited tax collectors into His inner circle. He was the one who looked beyond the frame of people into their heart and said, you will find your real worth in my love. And so cooperating starts with us teaching our children the attitude of humility, of not considering ourselves more important than we are, but considering other people as profoundly important to the kingdom of God. How do you do these things? You do it by practicing working together and encouraging your children to help each other. Every morning after breakfast, I would put on lively music, and all the kids would do their bit to restore our house to its natural order, or it's chaotic, from chaos to order. Before we began our day, we would rock out together while one put the dishes in the dishwasher, another swept, another straightened the room where we would be reading. And I would always say, Nate, why don't you go help Joy finish the dishwasher? Or Sarah, could you please help Joel put up the laundry? Because I wanted them to be in the habit of thinking that they didn't just do their own chore, they did things to help one another. Before we had guests in our house, each of us would have an area to manage, to pick up, to set the table, to write a personal welcome sign on our ever-present chalkboard outside, or lighting candles. And I would rotate the different jobs, and I would say, I really need some help here to chop the vegetables for the salad because I'm still working on the lasagna or whatever it was. At our ministry conferences, each of the kids had a task. Little ones would welcome moms with a basket of chocolate. Other ones would run the book table. But everyone had to work together to unload all the books, and no one could eat dinner until all the books were loaded back up and ready to ship back to our office. So each year we would also have the kids give a short talk to the audiences just because we wanted them to learn how to speak and be responsible for messages, whatever their lives would become, whether they were introverts or extroverts. And we would work with them about how to greet people, how to look in their eyes, ask them a question, how to pray with people. And because they had to serve together and we had to have them dependent upon each other, And of course, all of our conferences were filled with me and Clay behind closed doors saying, what is our 24 family way? What does it mean to forgive each other? Should you have done this? How could you have done it in a special way? You boys need to sit on this bed and not move an inch until you have decided to ask each other for forgiveness. And so cooperation is one of those things that is so important. As you learn the truth of this way, and you have a grid in your mind that you are helping them to learn how to be good at some future job that they will take, where their boss will notice that they don't just do their job, they help other people as well. You are helping them in their own marriage to learn how to be humble, to take correction, to overlook somebody else's problem. Cooperation requires a lot from a person. It requires a self-controlled spirit that has been gently shaped and trained away from its natural inclination to be selfish, to be self-centered, and to learn that by serving others, oftentimes their hearts are opened up. I was talking with Nathan. I think that I've shared with all of you all that I have the habit of talking to my children every week, several times a week. And I was talking to Nathan, and he knew that it was really a busy time for the rest of our family. We try to support each other in the different projects that we had. And Nathan had just released his new video, his new movie on Amazon, The Unlikely Samaritan. You can look it up on Nathan's blog and wherever where mine is. Anyway, it's a great movie, and I probably have the title wrong because it's changed titles so many times. But it's a story about a contemporary retelling of the Good Samaritan, and he stars in it. And I actually have a little tiny role in it. So does Clay. I haven't even seen it yet, and I don't think I want to. He was just said it'd be fun for you to make a cameo appearance, so we did. But anyway, I was talking to Nathan, and he said, "You know what, Mom?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Joel wrote me the nicest, longest note, and he said how much he loved the movie and how proud he is of me and how he thinks it'll touch a lot of hearts." And he said, "I just didn't expect him to do that because I know he had a really busy week, and I didn't even think he would be paying attention to me all the way in Scotland." And so as a mom who's still training her children, when I talked to Joel last night, I said, "You know what, Joel? Guess what Nathan said to me? He said that your note of encouragement to him really made his day, and it meant a lot to him because he was feeling quite alone in launching his new movie." And so a part of training is the words that you are giving, the ways that you are speaking into the value system of your children, the ways you are shaping the sentences of, "We are the Clarksons, we help each other. We are the Clarksons, we help other people." Now, another reason I think that cooperation and humility are so important is that it's so unnatural for people to be servant leaders, to be helpers, to be givers of time, to be givers of, "Oh, you're moving? How can I help you? Oh, you've been sick? I would like to bring you a meal." And when the world looks at us, at our children helping one another, whether it's at the grocery store or loading groceries into the car, whether it's at a park going to pick up another child who fell off the swing, whatever it is, I've noticed that when children have a cooperative spirit, they start looking for how they might help someone else who's in need. And they start looking for how they might open a door for someone, carry a heavy load. And that is one of the testimonies that will soften people's hearts and say, "I want to know what you have. I want to know how you taught that to your children. I want to know what your secret of life is." I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and here in the area. And one of the statistics about people in the UK is that there is, in the United Kingdom here in England, is that a lot of people are very lonely. And a lot of people are not used to anyone bringing them something, helping them with something. And one of these sweet older women at church talked to me about how one of the kids came by and helped her pull weeds in her little tiny flower box that was on her window. She's in her 80s. And when they came over, they swept her front porch. They helped her clean her house. This is a project that some of the people from my church had initiated to some of the older people in the church. And she said, it helped me feel like God remembered me because of the people who were working hard together, the kids in the youth group who came over and worked together to clean my house. And she said, I had such a sense of peace in my heart that day because there are so many days when I feel like I'm forgotten. And so whatever it is, I know that another way that we taught our children cooperation when they were very young, we lived in rural Texas, and we lived miles and miles and miles out in the country and far away from people. But we participated in a program called Meals on Wheels. And we would go to this kitchen, this place that had prepared meals for the elderly in the area. It was a volunteer program. And then we would go to their door every week and take them meals, drinks, and I would encourage the kids to talk to the people at the door. And so it got to the point where the kids really looked forward to the afternoons after all their other activities, where we would gather together and we would drive in this little rural country area. We met the most interesting people, and they would take turns going to the door and saying hi. I always said, ask them at least one question. Ask them something that might give them the opportunity to talk. And so as the kids learned just the warp and woof of relating to people in the days of our lives, and as they learned how to do it through Meals on Wheels and through conferences, they began to perceive in themselves that whole sense of, I am a person who helps. I am a person who serves. I am a person who needs to get along with people so that other people can see Christ in our community, in our family. And it happens before you even think it's happening. It happens when you as a family cherish the value of cooperation, when you train it, when you speak it, when you live it every single day. And I just want you to know that it is really kind of an amazing thing now. Some of the people in my family, by nature, by personality, are harder workers, and some are harder or more encouraging people. They all have their different strengths. But all of them, when push comes to shove, in the midst of a difficulty, in our catastrophe at Christmas, when little Lillian had her multiple emergency takings to the medical emergency room as well as to the hospital. And some of the kids were buying groceries and cooking. Some of the kids were going to the hospital to get medicines and to take things and clothing that Lily needed or that Thomas and Sarah needed. But when you do it on a regular basis, it will become a strength to you, to your family, to other people, and it will be a glory to your children because it's so satisfying to be able to serve and to feel like something that you did in life matters. So I hope you all have a great week. I hope this has been encouraging to you, and I hope you're enjoying the 24 Family Ways. And I just wanted to ask all of you one or two things. One is that I'm looking so forward to being in London at the leadership conference that we are having. We are going to be able to speak to a number of women. We closed it off so that we could have a closer fellowship with the women. And also for any of you who are interested in going to the Wild and Free Conference in May, be sure to look that up online. I will have more announcements about it, but I'm looking forward to meeting you there too. And we've also been getting a lot of questions about our membership. And it would mean so much to me for those of you who like our podcast and maybe want to give back to our family, excuse me, or help our ministry. Of course, our ministry runs to help pay for my assistants who are keeping me going by working in a lot of different areas for our ministry. But also we have office staff, and when you support us, that means a lot to us. You can go to wholeheart.org and support, or something else that you can do is when you join our membership for $15 a month, you are supporting all of the staff at Whole Heart Ministries. You're supporting our ability to reach out all over the world. But the wonderful thing is when you join Life with Sally, every single month you get so many different items of encouragement, of leadership training, of different posters for your children, of lessons for your children, of recipes for you in your home. So I would so appreciate it if those of you who have been pondering joining our Life with Sally membership, if you would join and help us continue to grow in our ministry and to reach all over the world with the messages that we do on our podcasts. So I hope you have a really wonderful week, and know that I pray for all of you, and I'll be thinking of you this week. Have a great week. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.